Interstate 15 runs through southeastern Nevada. From Primm along the California border, I-15 continues up through Vegas, up through Mesquite, up through Bunkerville to the Arizona border. Recently, reports started circulating that armed militia members near Bunkerville had taken up posts along the interstate, along I-15 and nearby State Route 170, wearing bulletproof vests and army fatigues and carrying loaded military-style weapons. People driving through the area have reportedly said they are scared by the armed influx of these paramilitary-looking guys. Local residents have been calling the police chief and asking if it is safe to drive through their own neighborhoods. The self-styled militiamen live along the highway. They live along the interstate. They sleep in tents at night. Reports have also started to circulate that these armed militiamen have even started to set up armed checkpoints on local roads, requiring people who live in the area to prove it before they allow them to pass through. Here's a photo that reportedly shows a member of an armed militia at a checkpoint in Nevada. No, this isn't eastern Ukraine on a dry day. This is Nevada, and that's an armed volunteer militiaman manning a checkpoint. It turns out all of these militiamen and their armed checkpoints for local residents, they're all, of course, linked to this guy. The whole Cliven Bundy, let me tell you what I know about the Negro cattle grazing armed standoff. From a national media perspective, it is over. Even our friends at the Fox News channel are finally over it. But for the people who live where that standoff happened, for the people who are residents of Bunkerville and surrounding communities, it isn't over. Even 2 weeks after the showdown with the Bureau of Land Management, it isn't over. The armed militia guys didn't leave. They're still there. And in some cases, they are essentially trying to control who comes in and goes out of that area. Still, now. Democratic Congressman Stephen Horsford, the congressman who represents that part of Nevada, he recently went to Bunkerville to meet with local leaders and residents. He ended up sending this letter afterwards to the Clark County Sheriff, saying that his constituents fear for their safety because of these armed men in their communities. He's asking the sheriff to investigate the presence of these armed bands of vigilantes in Bunkerville. Now, there's no doubt that the armed militias are still there. This is a recent video of a group of militiamen, including a man who identifies himself as a spokesman for the militia, talking about how it's their duty to defend what they call their battlefield. But of course, because this is the fantasy world of pretend military, it's also worth noting that there are different armed militia groups in this area. It isn't just one big group of militiamen with their, AK-47s. They all get along and sing Kumbaya every night before they bed down around the campfire and intimidate people on the interstate. No, it turns out they're fighting with each other. Recent reports indicate that there is now actually quite severe infighting between the different armed groups of pretend soldiers, which includes putting up super melodramatic YouTube videos and, according to them, pulling guns on each other.
He was assaulted. So tell us what happened.
The gentleman came and he all of a sudden started running at me and hit me right in the chest with his forearm and put me down.
So he came and forearmed you in the chest?
Yeah, he was running when he did it.
And this is the tip of the iceberg of the cluster out there. One of our guys from Montana, Rick DeLapp, who was there from the beginning, he's been out there for 2 weeks in the dirt. 2 of the mountain men guys came up to him and were aggressing on him. Then one of them ran back to his vehicle and grabbed an AR and came back with an AR in his hand, and Rick had the draw on him. And then those two of those ran off. That was this close to him having to shoot that ding-a-ling.
They pushed me, and they had guns. It was terrible. I felt very threatened. These are the armed guys. What have you guys exactly been doing in Bunkerville? Aren't you the militia guys who descended on Nevada and basically declared war on the federal government because you had your guns that you got at the gun store? Now you're all scared because other guys there also have guns and they're intimidating you with them? Things are getting out of control, apparently, in Bunkerville, long after the rest of the national media has left behind. The congressman who represents Bunkerville and now has this mess to clean up for his constituents joins us next.